Alright guys, a little bit different today. I am actually filming this on a Kodak Chimera. So this is going to be a little bit jumpy since it's a small, tiny ass camera that I'm holding with my hand. I wanted to tell a story. I remember when I was moving to Scotland with an ex-girlfriend, and it was such a whirlwind. I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to kind of put it down on wax so I won't forget about it forever. Um, but I just remember flying out of the U.S. and I board the plane, get in there, and then I disembark in London Gatwick Airport. I got hassled by the border agent when I got in there, but I got in. And the weirdest thing about London Gatwick Airport, at least at the time, is there wasn't a lot of air conditioning, so the entire airport was stuffy and smelled like cologne. It was the weirdest thing. I'd never experienced that in an airport before. But so I'm in Gatwick. We flew in via Virgin Airlines, not Virgin, and then we switched to EasyJet to go from Gatwick into Edinburgh. And I remember we landed into Edinburgh, and so this was years ago. So this was, for those of you guys who have been to Edinburgh, you remember the Sunday market with the big pink gorilla, R.I.P. The big pink gorilla is no longer there, but which was one of the coolest features. But I remember leaving the airport. My girlfriend at the time, mom picked us up. We went back to her mom and her stepdad's place, and I couldn't sleep because I was jet lagged. And I remember that was the weirdest thing. I had never been that north in the hemisphere before, so like longitude and latitude, all that fun stuff. I remember I was so far more north than I'd ever been before. It was a full moon that first night, and I remember the moon was so big, y'all. It was so big and it was so beautiful. It looked like you could just like reach and just pluck it right out of the sky. Um, that's you have perfect moments in life, and that was one of them. Just seeing that fucking big, gorgeous moon staring down at you in Scotland. Also, no mosquitoes. But that's all I got for today. Okay, y'all, since I'm got the charmer out and I'm really trying to use it. In fact, y'all, I bought this last year, 2025, like December, November, on a whim, and I used it a little bit, but not much. So I might as well get my entire usage out of it tonight. So my last Charma video was Charmera video was landing in Scotland. And first night. I can talk about another couple of nights, so I'll wrap a few events into one. I remember we were at my ex's parents' house, and we were crashing over there, and one of her little nieces, what's her name, Zoe, no, it's just Zoe, Zoe was falling asleep, and then we were all drunk, and we were being loud, and she woke up, and I looked back, she came up to me, and I looked at her, I was like, hey, go back to sleep. And then she went right back to her room, and we lay right back down and went to sleep. And Carrie's, my ex-girlfriend, Carrie, her mom, Linda, just started cracking up, like, you just told her to go to sleep, and she went right back to bed. I'm like, yeah, I probably made some kind of black guy joke at that moment, but who knows. Um, Zoe's older brother Paul was her half brother, and Carrie's oldest brother Colin had a very tumultuous relationship with this woman. Maybe her name was Sharon. If you watch the movie The Full Monty, um, the women in that Full Monty, the way they they costumed late 90s, early 2000s British women, that's exactly what Pauline looked like. That's how she dressed. she was pretty, but she was like, she was in this really messed up relationship with Colin, and she was like cheating on him and all that other kind of shit. Well, her son, Zoe's older half brother, never acknowledged me the entire time I was in Scotland until one day we were we were there to pick up Zoe, and Colin and Pauline were drunk and fighting. Maybe Colin smacked her. I don't know the full context, but it was such a bad fight, and it was so crazy. Paul started talking to me, and even Carrie commented like, "Oh my goodness, you could tell he was really upset because he was actually talking to you." I was like, "Yeah, I know, man. I felt bad for the kid." Um, but yeah, that was a rough one. I remember visiting her middle brother Aaron. Um, he lived in the Kingdom of Fife, aka Kakordi, right on the Black Sea, and then just sitting there and like getting drunk with him and eating like not Chinese takeout, but like frozen Chinese takeout from Tesco, which is kind of just like your basic kind of grocery store out there. Although Tesco and Walmart, no, they didn't merge. I think Walmart merged with Asda, but I think the merger has since split up because Walmart was losing money in the British market. Um, Let me see. Um, Hanging out at the Edinburgh Festival. Um, we didn't have any money to go to anything, so we just walked around. That was really, really cool. Um, I normally have never really gotten into fights with romantic partners, but I remember Carrie and I got really drunk in downtown Edinburgh, and we were arguing and having a fight like on the bus back home. I don't even remember the context of the fight, but it was pretty interesting. Let me think. Um, Sunday markets, aka flea, in America we would refer to those as flea markets, but going to multiple Sunday markets, um, getting really, really drunk with Carrie's stepdad, and him kind of going into stories. And I feel like I don't know, maybe not. From some of his drunken stories, it seemed like he might have. Um, oh dude, Al, such a good dude. He used to sell used cars, but like not officially. He just kind of was flipping cars. Um, he also had a market stall when he was younger, like at the flea markets, and he was Honest Al, the working man's pal. Oh my gosh. Um, he was like, yeah, I sold everything but drugs and guns. I'm like, oh, that leaves a lot of room for a bunch of stolen merchandise, Al. But he used to, in the UK, they refer to porns as blue movies, and he would be like, yeah, we would buy one porno from Europe that was 6 hours long, and then we would get three different 2 hour VHS blank tapes, and we would turn one porn into three porns. So they were cutting porn, like cutting coke. And he would like, yeah, we would make up stupid names, like we would call it like the first part, like I sucked the camel's dick 1, 2, and 3, and we would sell it weekly. Like the first week we would have one, the second week we would only sell part 2, and then the third week, of course, we'd only sell part 3. And I remember him just telling me stories like that. It was so fucking hilarious. Going to the grocery store and buying all kinds of grades of alcohol, and whether wine, beer, liquor, whatever. And I remember the really, really cheap rock gut shit. It would be like a bottle of whiskey that just had a white label that said whiskey in black lettering. Like, when you watch like old movies from the 80s and 70s, and it would just have a can that just said beer. They literally had cans that just said lager, stout, and it was just like Tesco brand lager, Tesco brand stout, Tesco brand pilsner, that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Little things like that. No mosquitoes, that was crazy. No snakes, that was crazy. whenever we would babysit Carrie's younger nieces and nephews, um, I'd be like, "Don't go in the bushes. There's snakes there," and they were like, "No, we don't have snakes in Scotland." I'm like, "Oh, well, shit. I guess you don't." That's just an American thing. But yeah, man, I remember being in Edinburgh Castle uh, and just taking a tour and how cool that was, y'all. Um, Carrie's mom and stepdad, he had built a wall out of stones he found um, in their backyard to kind of enclose their garden. Now, here's the deal. Throughout the UK, the Romans built walls. And it's very common for people these days to just dig out Roman walls and take all the stones and build stuff with it. So they didn't care, for real, for real. But for someone like me, I was just like, oh my god, the wall in your backyard, your stepdad just grabbed a bunch of Roman fucking stones from their walls and built his wall. That was wild. Like, that's the most beautiful thing I think about Europe. Honestly, Asia and good chunks of Africa, it's been developed for so long that you just have this real connection. You can literally pick up something, and that something has been in the same area for thousands of years, and people have been messing with it. But yeah, that's all I got for Scotland. I'll talk some little Amsterdam stuff here in a moment.